Each of us has what I'm calling a primary love language. And if you don't speak their primary language, they will not feel loved, even though you're expressing love in some of the other languages. Now, that doesn't mean you don't speak the other languages, but you have to give heavy doses of the primary. You can sprinkle in the other four and get extra credit, okay? But they will never take the place of the primary.
No, I love it. As you were explaining those, I think I'm words of affirmation number one, because when you looked into the camera and you're like, you were saying something really nice, I felt myself, oh, wow. I just felt myself being affirmed. That was really awesome. And these all sound amazing, right? I mean, we all want all of these, but you talk about there's the primary one that we need more than the others. Yes. And this is obviously what you saw in the counseling room when someone, a husband or a wife, was saying, I do all of these things for them to show them love, but it wasn't their primary language. Is that correct?
Absolutely. In fact, one man said, when his wife said, I feel like he doesn't love me, he said, Dr. Chapman, he said, I wash dishes, I vacuum floors, I wash the car every Saturday. I mow the grass. I help her with the laundry. And she sits there and says she doesn't feel loved. Yeah. I look back at her and she said, Dr. Chapman, he's right. He is a hardworking man, but we don't ever talk. We haven't talked in 20 years. She said, he's always mowing the grass, washing the dishes, always doing something. Her language was quality time. Yeah. When she said talk, she didn't mean that they didn't discuss where you want to go for dinner or who's going to pick up the kids. She meant we don't ever sit down and have an honest, good, open talk with each other. Quality time. So he was sincere, but he was missing her because he wasn't speaking her language.
Yeah. So what happens when that couple goes home and he starts to sit down with her, spend some quality time? What happens to the marriage? All of a sudden they're in the counseling room, they're having some issues with their marriage, and then now they go home and just do a couple of simple things. What happens? What are some of the results?
I think what happens is that the other person begins to feel love. You've been saying you love them, but they're beginning to feel love now. And we're talking about, look, there's many definitions of love, but what we're talking about is that deep emotional need to feel loved. And so they begin to feel love. And when they begin to feel loved, they're drawn to you because love stimulates love. The scriptures say we love God because God first loved us. See, his love stimulates our love. Well, that principle is true in human relationships. When one person, even one person, will begin to speak love in the language of the other person, it stimulates in that other person a feeling of being loved, and they're drawn to you. So you don't sit around and waiting for your spouse to start speaking your language. You get the concept and you start speaking their language, and you'll begin to see a change in them.
Yeah, definitely. You talk about in the 5 love languages, the love tank. I always thought this was an amazing chapter, and he kind of related it to a car, that if you're driving a car and your oil starts to get low, there could be some severe issues going and running that car. And it's kind of similar to the love tank. So why don't you talk to us about the love tank?
Yeah, or you could use a gasoline tank in the car. If it's full, you can drive a long ways. If it's empty or near empty, you're not going far. And so I like to picture inside of us, even children, that there's an emotional love tank. And if the love tank is full, for example, if that child genuinely feels loved by the parents, that child grows up emotionally healthy. But if that love tank is empty, that child does not feel loved, the child will grow up with many internal emotional struggles. And the teenage years, they will go looking for love, typically in all the wrong places. But I believe that adults also have a love tank. And if you're married, the person you would most like to love you is your spouse. If you feel loved by your spouse, if the love tank is full, life is beautiful. But if the love tank is empty and you feel like they don't love me, they wish they weren't married to me, life begins to look pretty dark. So what we're doing is trying to keep the love tank full, and the love language helps you do that effectively.
And obviously, this started off with marriage. It's branched into many other books, and you've talked about kids, teens, the workplace. And then you also just mentioned that when you're not feeling loved, especially by your spouse, you go and you look for love in other places because we all have this need to be loved. I work with a lot of entrepreneurs, a lot of business owners, and I believe that many times they become workaholics, that they like to spend a lot of their time at work because they feel respected, which can in turn, as a man especially, loved. And when they come home, maybe they don't feel that as much. So again, maybe it doesn't always have to be in the teen years where you look for love in some of these other places, but even as adults, we all need love, right? And we're looking
Absolutely.
in various
and,
ways.
And if words is your words, affirming words is your love language, and you don't hear them from your spouse. In fact, your spouse is always being critical of you. But at work, everybody's praising you. I mean, they're expressing appreciation for you. So, man, you spend more time at work, less time at home. Yeah, not you're consciously doing it, but you're being fed emotionally in one place and you're not in the other. And of course, many times, this leads to some emotional attachment or sometimes an affair with somebody, outside the home, which is very tragic. And that's why I believe if we can get this together in our marriage, we're not going to nearly be as attracted to somebody else out there because our needs are being met in the marriage.
Yeah. Would you say, I work with a lot of men, and one of the things, the deep, dark secrets in men, and even in the Christian church, we deal with pornography. And I heard this one time that a lot of times men don't go to pornography to just for the pornography's sake, but they go to it because they're never rejected. And sometimes they feel rejected, possibly at home. Have you ever dealt, with men with this type of issue?
Yeah, I think there are a lot of issues why some men turn to pornography. But let me just say up front, pornography never, ever enhances a marriage relationship. Mm-hmm. I cannot tell you how many wives have sat in my office when they've discovered their husband's on porn and they're weeping. And they say, Dr. Chapman, what is wrong with me? Mm-hmm. Why does he have to turn to some unreal world out there? Yeah. So it's always detrimental to a marriage. I would just encourage men, just don't walk down that road. If you're walking down that road, turn around. Come back in the real world, But yeah, I think there are different things that motivate men to do that. But one of them many times is that their needs are not being met in the marriage relationship. Yeah. And so rather than having a physical affair, they have a mental affair with a person that's unknown to them.
Thank you so much for checking out the Brett Snodgrass channel. If you like this video, please slam on that like button. And if you really like it, then subscribe to our channel here. And remember to leave us a comment below, and I'm going to try my hardest to reply to all the comments. Thank you guys so much. This is why I do what I do. Every single week, I come out with content that focuses on success, freedom, and living out your purpose. Thank you guys so much. See you next time.